Hey folks, Mark here. Today's teaching, today's fence, but it's fence from the other side. The first time I did defense to offense, where the attack is coming in, you do something, and then, carry on, and that becomes your attack. Now I want to address how to take the offense to someone else, but at the same time do it safely and defend yourself in the process. Now, one of the easier ways to understand this concept is the guy's up in a guard. What do you do? Now, a lot of people try and get around the guard, etc., etc., and that can be a problem if the guy's fast, because basically he's going to see you move and then know you're going to, throw a punch. His guard is here. I'm going to move over here and attack it. He'll never suspect it. Well, one of the ways to do fence against somebody's defensive, I do speak English, it's my native tongue, comes from fencing. It's called the beat. Now, with swords, which are much, much longer, you have leverage. So if the guy's got his sword out like this, you come in and you go bing, and you knock the sword aside, and then you come in. So it's a fast tap and then thrust. Well, that works with leverage because swords are really long, they have a lot of leverage, and they can be manipulated. And if the guy doesn't react correctly fast enough, his sword tip is going to be beat to the side, and he's wide open here. Well, you can do a beat against somebody's defense, but it's a little different because you don't have leverage going on for you nearly as much as you need to use a fast, short yet powerful tap against his arms. Now, this really works well if the guy doesn't have structure and he's trying to hold everything there by muscle, right? Now, if the guy's got structure and you go beat against it, it's not going to move much. But if he's tight and he's holding his structure isn't aligned, but he's doing by muscle, he's very vulnerable to a fast, I don't want to call it a tapping action, it's not a hitting action, because remember hand jive? All those things really deliver force in their own way. So yes, I can come in, if the guy's got his guard up, I can come up, and instead of trying to go around so much, I come in and then go bonk. That's kind of a side trip, but I come in and I beat his hand aside, and notice I really haven't taken my hand offline that much. So it comes up and goes whop, and it's there. That's one way of doing it. Another is the slap from hand jive, just here and go pop and then come in. Believe it or not, another way to do this is not necessarily, and the reason why I said you don't strike so much, but you come in and you can, like, when you touch, you start rotating, and what that'll do is that'll screw your way in and beat his arm aside. Again, works better if the guy doesn't have good structure, and you can literally do it that fast. Now, I came in here and then I rotated there. So when I was touching his arm here, this is where I began to rotate and basically screw past his defenses. Now, another way you can do this, to take an offensive motion and turn it, and cover the defensive aspects, is angle. Say the guy's got his guard up like this, and if you come in at a straight angle, right, you're not going to really get much because he can move and he can block, etc. But if he's got his hands up and you come in at an angle, which you'll often see me do this, right, and when I'm demonstrating something. So basically, instead of coming in this way, you come in this way, right? And that gives you the structure to move his guard aside. And you can just slide right in past his guard because you're kind of like snow plowing his guard out of the way. This is what Bob Orlando referred to as the wedge. And, he was an excellent practitioner of it. So that really is really good ways to incorporate both defensive and offensive action into your attack. So yes, you are attacking, but you're doing that. Now, another way is to move slightly. And this is, the guy's guard is out here, and he's expecting it to come in from here. What he's not really expecting is for it to come in here. So it's not a big 45-degree, right? But you can create just enough of an angle, right, that it'll slide past his defenses. He's standing here like that. He's ready to handle a straight incoming punch. He's not ready to handle a slight off-angle hit. And off-angle hits, especially if you keep your elbows down, they put your limb in between his limb and you. So they create almost a shielding action as you're attacking. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand about shields is, yes, they were really good at stopping somebody's, sword attack, but you could use them offensively. So you block his attack, you punch with the shield. And, I mean, the edge of his shield smashing in your face did not do you any good. Now, the other thing to understand about these, these defensive offenses is they don't always have to be hits. Okay, and that's a big one. Now, a lot of times they are great setups for a hit. Okay, but they themselves are not hits. So if somebody's got their guard up and you need to get past it, especially if he's tight and his muscles, are doing the work rather than his structure. If you come up, you can grab him, right? And I mean, just you make contact, he'll start pushing into it. He's pushing this way, and you flip your wrist and you pull him. Okay, that is an offensive act. It's just not an impact, not yet at least. Because if you can pull him into the hit, that's good. I mean, I like elbows because they're the artillery of unarmed fighting. But you can also pull him, and basically, instead of you moving slightly to do that hit, you can take him and move him so to put him in the same position that you can hit. So there's a lot of different ways that your offensive moves can be turned into defensive applications. And mostly that's hitting in such a way or doing something in such a way that this arm becomes a shield and is in between his limb and you. And it's better if you can move to the outside gate, although it still works on the inside gate too. Okay, remember, outside gate, inside gate. Safer is if you put up a shield to keep him from coming back when you're in the outside gate, because that leaves it this free, doing it on the inside gate, also again pulling. Now, if I pull somebody this way, I'm likely to create a rotation in his body. So instead of him going like this, because I grab his arm and he pops me one, I'm pulling him this way, which makes it harder for him to hit. But for me, it's very easy for me to hit. So there's a lot of ways that you can use fence, and think about it from defense into offense, and then offense that includes defense. Both work, and you'll be a lot faster because you're actually doing not two distinct moves like ha, ha, right? But you're kind of doing 1.25, whop. Okay, so yeah, I beat the guy's arm to the side, and then I continue to come in. And also, look, his arm's over here, right? I'm in between, my arm is in between his arm and me. So again, Fence, a lot of different ways. I posted a video on the first fence where it was sword fighting and the guy was demonstrating, and you can see the concepts where the guy does something that he is attacking. It's coming in, but his sword is in between the other guy's sword and his body. So that's the offensive aspect of fence.